So, buttock enhancement surgery, I get asked quite a lot about this, and it's fair to say that it's had a checkered history from being an incredibly popular operation, popularized famously by the Kardashians, to then becoming a rather unpopular operation due to tragic mortalities that happened as a result of some techniques for buttock fat grafting, buttock enhancement by fat grafting, and then a period of sort of reflection over a few years in which some of the national societies, not least the British Association of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons, looked into how it can be done safely and what was going wrong in those cases where it was going wrong. And now it's facing a more gentle, considered resurgence again. So buttock enhancement is back on the table, and it's done in a number of ways. It can either be done with buttock implants, or it can be done with buttock fat grafting, the previously so-called BBL, but it's now been renamed to SGL, or superficial gluteal lipofilling, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then other techniques, such as non-surgical techniques, things like gluteal muscle enhancement. First of all, I'll start with that gluteal muscle enhancement. You can go to the gym and train your bum, but most people who are contemplating surgery have already tried that. We have some machines that will supercharge your training. They'll do the equivalent of sort of 30,000 squats in 30 minutes, and that might be suitable for some women, the so-called M-Sculpt type machines, high intensity electromagnetic training, HIEMT, of buttocks. So that's the non-surgical approach, really straightforward, but it needs to be repeated, just like going to the gym needs to be repeated. Fat grafting is probably the next approach, and fat grafting is a really nice option. It's a great option, but the problem was that fat grafting was being carried out in safe planes and dangerous planes at the same time, and it was grafting into those dangerous planes that was the problem. A plane is just a tissue layer, and a dangerous plane is a tissue layer where there's interesting clockwork going on. And in this case, it was a big vein called the inferior gluteal vein. And if fat ever got into that vein, it would travel around the body, hit your lungs, and could cause death. And the problem that this research identified was that surgeons seemed to sometimes think that they were nowhere near that plane, whilst nonetheless being in the danger zone. And so BBL has given way. BBL was a blind operation in which surgeons would inject often quite a lot of fat graft, and that has given way to superficial gluteal lipofilling, SGL, and the change of name emphasizes the fact that the fat must be injected only in the safe plane, superficially, and one of the key criteria is that it is done with ultrasound guidance at the time of surgery. So with the surgeon's one hand, they need to be holding the ultrasound probe, they need to be trained in how to do this, and with the other hand, they need to be fat grafting. It has to happen at the same moment by the same person at the same time. And if it's not done in that way, then it is not meeting today's standard of care. There were a few other recommendations placed as well on the way that surgery is conducted, the time that you spend, the number of cases a day that the surgeon does. That's not law in the UK, although in the UK it's not so relevant because surgeons were never really packing their lists in the way that they were happening in some places. In Florida, it was necessary to make that law, and they've said that no more than 3 surgeries taking 5 hours each. And you think, well, who's doing 15 hours of surgery a day anyway? But there you go. So a few technical aspects were imposed. The first surgery ever to be legislated on. And finally, buttock implants. Now, buttock implants have had a checkered history as well. People have been concerned about them moving and rotating and flipping and extruding and becoming infected. In fact, if buttock implants are done right, don't go too crazy big, put them in the correct plane and do it with a safe technique, then it's a really nice operation. And for those ladies who just don't have enough fat to graft into their bums, then it's still a very good option. And finally, there are combination techniques where you can do fat grafting and buttock implants at the same time. So there are a few options for you. Please get in touch with us. This is something that we can offer. I am trained in these things, so please get in touch and we can advise you. I hope that's helpful. Please let me know. Take care. Bye-bye.